Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Owoh's Corner, my own little corner of art. In today's video, I'm just streaming me working on a little animation exercise. What I like to do is, if I haven't been animating in a while, or if I haven't been drawing in a while, I like to do these little, short animation, these little concepts where it helps me grow in my skill, and it also helps me sort of get back in the mood of animation. So right now I'm actually working on a spear fighting animation. I'm in the rough in-betweening phase. So I'm just trying to get down the, basic movements and trying to, go in between frames and add the animation, add the in-between images. So this is pretty much all of the work I have on right now. It's going to be about 12 seconds long, maybe a little bit over. And yeah, I'm just working on this to, get back in the mood so then I can go back to working on my teaser trailer. And as you can see with the rough in-betweening phase, things are kinda ugly, and that's pretty much intentional because you're not really focused on making it look good or making it look presentable. You're focused on making sure that the animation and the flow looks seamless enough. So you're gonna see a bunch of dirty line art. You're gonna see a bunch of, not solid figures and stuff like that. And you may even see a few things that look warped or sort of wonky. So right now, this character has a bit of like a teleportation or a blinking ability. So right now, he's in the process, he's in the motion of blinking away and blinking backwards. So what I have to do is, his weapon is a spear. So what I have to do is I sort of have to draw him mid that jumping motion. And in order to do that, I have to see his figure, see his body between being this close up and then being like in a sort of like zoomed out version right here. And I can go back and I'll like draw this like here. His figure isn't really that blocky, so I'll use my eraser to erase some of this and give him more of a form. Right now I have my onion skin on, and the onion skin can hurt or help you. Sometimes it can be a bit too much. Many animators, they actually like to constantly turn it off and on because they either feel overwhelmed or they just want to focus on what they're actually supposed to be drawing now. I tend to keep mine on, but I've tried to get a better habit of turning it off when I'm not using it or when I don't need it. So as you can see, his legs, because his legs are going to be closer to the viewer, I can use the lasso tool to select these legs, and I'm going to want to scale them up. So I'll go back to the free transform. I'll hold Shift and Alt to increase their size in place so there's not too much deviation. Because you see that his knees are right here, but then in the next frame they're going to be up here, which is why this is going to be a frame on ones, because it's supposed to really sell that movement and the speed of his action, because he's jumping up and he's moving backwards. Now as for his hands, I'm going to want to put a diamond shape about right here. This will be the back of his hand, and then this will be his fingers. This diamond shape right here. I am actually going to have to size it up a little bit, or no, that fixed it. Yeah. This is way better. Yeah, I am going to want to increase the size of this upper arm because it is actually closer. So this right here is his hand, then his wrist is going to go up and then backwards. You can see you can make out his tendon about right here. I can delete this. And again, this is not meant to look good or like a polished finished project. I'm just getting the general idea. Now with this hand, I'm going to have to be careful because this is the hand that he is holding his weapon, his spear in. And you see as how in the previous frame his hand is right here, but in the next frame his hand is right here. And I am going to go back and I'm going to redraw this hand because it is supposed to be rotated a bit and more turned towards the viewer. But for right now, let's just see this right here. And I'm going to be using another triangle shape. Because of the way he's holding his weapon, he's holding his spear, you're going to be seeing more of his thumb, which is going to be curving and wrapping around his weapon. So his thumb's going to have to be right here. And you see that the part of his hand is sort of like wrapped around that little second joint of the thumb. You're going to see as how his fingers sort of like, they don't firmly grasp his weapon, but they're sort of like around it in a way. You're not going to see a part of his wrists. Let me use the lasso tool again to move this. And this is all okay. The thing with animators is and artists in general. Okay, so let me rephrase that. A aspect of artists that sort of consciously or consciously gets transferred over to animators is we want every stroke that we make or do be perfect. So that is why we keep constantly erasing, or which is why we keep erasing, or we keep going back, or we keep moving things. But I'll just let you know that using the lasso tool and moving objects is fine too, especially in a especially at this stage, especially the rough in betweening phase, because you're just making sure that you're just making sure that you get the motion down. It's not really that big or important. And then if you're like me and you're drawing each individual frame, it's even better. It's even better to just have this as a sort of like, relaxed. Just be relaxed with it and yourself. Now, I did mess up on this part. So you see right here, this is the figure's belly button. Now, what we have to remember is that our elbows are in line. Our elbows are in line with our belly button. And what I messed up is he is sort of like in a mid-jump sort of like area right here. So he is getting ready to jump back. But even with his arms raised like that, his elbows shouldn't be in such a dynamic motion. So I'm actually going to take this lasso tool again. Go to free transform. Then I'm going to take this right here and I am going to stretch it. And I'm going to stretch it to about right here. Now the stretching tool isn't always going to come in handy for you. There are going to come times where instead of stretching, you may want to actually move things. You can't always rely on stretching. Like right here, this is a somewhat okay, more lenient position. Because if you see right here, you see how it's not directly in line, but you can see that if he were to just relax a little bit, his elbows would be aligned with his belly button. And so now what I'm going to have to go back in is I'm going to have to go back in and downsize the hands, because the hands are just a tad too big. Now next frame, he is actually moved back some. So I'm actually going to want to, first of all, move up the belly button. So it's not going to be that low anymore, it's going to be higher. Because he's starting to move up, his stomach is doing like a shift upwards. So instead of his belly button being somewhere low right here, it's going to be up a bit further, about right here. And with that, I'm going to need to so there, it's about in line. Something is still off with this hand. I think it's because I just haven't drawn the weapon in his hand, but and again, another thing, when you are when you have your character's body who is moving backward, you're going to want to warp it just a little bit so that you can sell that sort of illusion of and no, this does not look good at all. Again, this is just to sell the image of movement. And sometimes Animate does that weird thing where it likes to fill stuff in for me, which is strange. And I still haven't figured out how to fix that issue. But like, whenever that happens, I just like to, I'll either erase it, I'll either hand erase it, or I'll just like Control Z. Let's erase some of this, and then go back and yeah. And this right here is when he turns into energy. And he booms back, he disappears for a little while, and he's going to beam back in. And I think I can definitely make this sequence shorter. then I'm going to want to make it smaller, but only just a little bit, because it's supposed to curve up. It looks ugly now, but that's just the point of the process, is to sell the illusion of movement. Let's see. It's supposed to go like this, where it curves out and up. So what that look like from I think I can animate this on ones instead of twos or threes, because that'll really just jerk it nicely. Phrasing, Amobi, phrasing. What I mean is, I think that I can animate this on twos because it'll really sell how fast it is, or how fast it's supposed to look. So let's see. I think I want to immediately cut right here. And then moving forward, all of this is going to be on ones. And this is a good starting point, but I do want to thin it, because the thinner it is, the more it'll really show the audience just how fast and how just show the audience how fast it is and how fast it's going. Personally, for me, I would have to say that drawing effects is the most difficult, because it's like effects, especially energy effects, it's not something that is natural in this world. And so it takes you a while to really think of and keep in mind the mechanics behind something moving Mach speed or something transmitting itself so fast. And when I like to draw effects like that, I like to give it tendrils at the end, or I like to give it like spikes at the end. Some people, they just do like flat lines to give it like a pixelated look. But me personally, I like to use more tendrils, and I want to see more tendrils when I animate and make stuff. So, let's see. And again, we're making this really thin because it's just to show the spaghettification. Like if you know science, spaghettification is essentially like the faster something is pulled, especially towards the speed of light, the thinner it gets. Like when you get by like a black hole, the gravity is so powerful that it is pulling you, and it's making you like thinner and thinner. So that's what I'm trying to do, and that's why I'm employing this principle of stretch into my work. Now I do need one final layer, and this is just to show the tail end of it. To show the tail end of the motion. Okay, let's see this right here. Okay, now what is this? I might have drawn this on a layer that I wasn't supposed. Yes, I drew this on a layer that I was not supposed to draw this on. So we're going to Control X to cutting. Then we're going to, let's look at another layer. Then we're going to Control V. And we're going to put it about right here where it originally was. So now in between this frame, we're going to want to draw what we think is going to be in between it. So let's see, there's going to be some starting of formations here and right here. and right here. Because the energy or the pixelation is begin to fade in and sort of deactivate, we're going to see as this gets smaller, progressively so. So these little pixels right here, they're going to get shorter and start to fall more. Now this piece right here, we can just delete it because it's already small enough. And now we're actually going to cut them so that now they're just like this small, like barely even a thing. And we can actually cut this one to where it actually appears a little bit below. Then this one we're going to cut it about right here because the entity, the character, has already manifested right here. It's going to dash again. And I kind of already went in and animated that. It's going to disappear. Let's zoom out to now. I do actually want to go back into his figure, and this was my sort of like first set of rough in-betweening. This is me just, making the figure again. I didn't really even add much detail because I just wanted to get the raw motion. And the actual animation was shorter than this. Like, it wasn't even 12 seconds long. I think I had it to maybe like 2-3 seconds long because I was just solely focusing on getting the basic figures down. That after I finally got all the figures down and after I got some of like the rough in-betweening done, then was when I decided to break it up, space it, and sort of set time markers to where I wanted stuff at. And that actually goes back to my in-betweening video that I made about, what is in-betweening. You have like a rough in-betweening and smooth in-betweening. And sometimes with your in-betweening, you're going to want to go back either sometimes 2 or 3 times. That's why animation takes so long, and that's why animation has a bit of a learning curve. I just took a sip of my coffee. But anyway, that's why animation has such a learning curve, because it's not really animation, and the seamlessness or the quality of your animation is really dependent on how long you take on it and how much time you dedicate to it. And I'm actually in my senior year of college, so that means that even now I have more time than what I used to have, like last semester, which was like, I was just kind of like working like every other day on an animation, or like I couldn't dedicate too much time because I had like too much schoolwork. Now, usually, when I am making an animation that involves an object, I like to draw the object on a separate layer. It's just this was so raw for me, and I was just trying to get everything down in one go that I didn't really care. So I'm not trying to say I didn't really care, but I was solely focused on getting the raw movements down and what I want and the motions that mattered down, that I sort of just drew everything on one layer. So let's see this real quick. And so you see how that jerks. So I'm gonna have to add a frame in here to where he is moving forward. Then there's a pause to where he goes back and he's gonna flip his spear that way. And then I'll probably add a motion to where his spear maybe faces down, and then he does that dashing ability that he has. So first, let's give this figure some more definition. Let's add things like tendons, biceps, the what's that thing called? Collarbones, stuff like that. I do not stylize my works. When I do an animation, I like to keep things as close to human figure as possible, and that's kind of why my stuff takes so long, and that's why and that's pretty much why my stuff takes so long, is because, and this is, and I say this not to knock on anybody. Like, if you like to be stylized, if you like to have like dynamic character designs like Hell of a Boss, or like what was that other show called, Amphibian, stuff like that. If you're an animator, you can have any style you want, and I am not knocking on that style. Like, you found a style that works for you. I personally just like to draw and animate in a more generally humanoid figure with muscle and flowing fabric, and that's just my style, and everyone is entitled to their own style. And I even like people who stylize their art. Like, that stuff is amazing. So just because I'm saying that, oh, that's not my style, don't take it as me insulting or knocking on people who do, because there are benefits and there are stylistic reasons as to why people draw and animate the way that they do. Like, we're all entitled to how we want to draw and how we want to animate. That's actually what I learned in one of my courses, that, art is subjective, and the notion of doing art, especially doing art for a living, is finding what works for you. Now, I will say, if you are a chameleon artist, and this is not my word, this is what people generally call it in the industry and at my college, is if you are a chameleon artist, if you do fan art, and if you are an artist who copies the styles of others, then that is pretty much what they want in the industry, because it shows that you can readily in between for them, you can readily storyboard for them and stuff like that. They don't have to spend too much time trying to teach you how to draw in their style, because that's just what you've adapted to, and that's just what you readily know. Now, am I gonna design clothes for this character? Probably not. I think this is just gonna end up being like 2D. I mean, not 2D. I think this is just gonna be like rough. Trying to find the right word. I'm sorry. Like, I usually get in the zone with my animation and I just lose myself to the craft. But yeah, this is probably just gonna be an animation with strictly line art. Because, again, it's just to. Now, I might color the effects, but mainly the purpose of this animation is to just help me get the motion down and to help me work on my combat animation. Because for Witches 13, my show, it is actually going to be very effects heavy. It's a show that blends magic and science, so you're going to be seeing a lot of dynamic effects, a lot of colors, and Lord, I'm going to need to get a team, but I'll cross that bridge when I get there. Now let's see this here. Let's draw the spear about right here. shit, I hate when that happens. So it's gonna go this way. It's going to go up. So that means that he pokes it out and he's going to lift it up, alternate his hand length. So let's see. The spear's going to be somewhere like right here. And somewhere along the lines, he's going to turn his head. He's likely going to look at his spear. Somewhere like right here. He's going to look at his spear. Changing his grip. So it's going to be like this. Likely his left leg is going to stay planted, but his right leg is going to swivel and move over. Let me see how long I've been recording. Almost an hour. One of my favorite things about animation, especially in-betweening, is it really makes you have to think. You have to really sit down and think, okay, how is this character moving? What is going on in between this pose and this pose? How are they getting to that motion? Especially in the in-between phase. I'd have to say that in-betweening, even though it's the longest phase, is actually my favorite because I just get so active when I'm doing it, when I'm working on it. Let's see here. I had some coffee, now I'm just sipping some water from my water bottle that I have next to me. It's going to be enclosed. Excuse me. So let's see. In a position like this, spear, because it's moving from an out position up to an elevated position. In order to do that, the grass from the sphere is going to have to swap because the left hand is extended more than the right hand. But in order to move it up like that, the right hand is going to need to go above the left hand. And because the body is turning on a swivel, that means that the left leg is going to have to spin over while the right leg, that's right, is going to act as the swivel or turning point. And then because the sphere is going up and over, there is going to be a moment in which the sphere is going to pass the head. So it's going to look somewhat like this. Now, with pole arm weapons, there's not a joint at which it's going to just sporadically turn like that. It doesn't turn at the end. It's actually going to turn somewhere in the center. So yeah, about right there is going to be the turning or the joint point. Okay. Again, this is just the rough. I'm just getting the basic motion down, so I don't have to care too much about presentation or how it looks yet. This is going to be held for 6 frames. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Yeah, I think I've been at it a while, and I think this is a fine stopping point, at least for today. I just wanted to get one live stream in so that I could, yeah, I just felt like getting a live stream in. I'm doing fine, everything's good, but I really have to get back to some more schoolwork. I was just taking a quick little break to, get some more animation done. I have been applying for jobs. I've actually been applying for jobs, and I've actually gotten a few graduation gifts. So I'm also going to be working on some business cards. My Patreon is up. But yeah, if you like this content, if you like what I do, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, share even. Share, tell people what I do here. This is just my own little corner of art where I just talk. I do my own animations. And if I find out any tips or if I can think of a way to help people, then I tell people what I think. Sadly I do not get into drama. I'm not really into the talking about folks game. But yeah, just leave a comment, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.